I'm Dave Barber of Capitol Television. This day we come to you from the third floor of the Rhode Island State House in a segment we call Capitol Spotlight. We corral a member of the General Assembly and take 5 minutes of their time to talk about some of the issues they've been working on and give you a little better insight as to what goes on here under the dome. I welcome back a gentleman who I've had the pleasure of interviewing many times, the Honorable State Representative Jan Malik. Representative, it's great to see you.
Good afternoon, Dave. Good to be here today with you.
It's always good to talk with you because you serve on the all-important Finance Committee. I'm amazed at the amount of hours that you folks put in that committee. But last week was particularly special for you because your legislation on eliminating the Rhode Island sales tax was heard. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was heard last week. It was exciting. We had around 40 people testify on it, all in favor, of course, on this bill. And it's a bill to bring the sales tax from 7 to 0% and probably, put Rhode Island on the map. A little bit different than all the neighboring states in the area.
Now, you got to believe, Representative, there's not a snowball's chance of us going to zero sales tax, or do you think otherwise?
Well, let me say this, Dave. We got to think out of the box, plain and simple. I mean, look, in Rhode Island right now, we have great restaurants, great beaches. Massachusetts has the same thing. What makes us different and unique to bring people back in Rhode Island to this great state of ours? And that would be one of the ways, bringing the sales tax down from 7 to 0%.
Well, if you said there were 40 people that testified and they were all in favor, I'll be 41, because who wouldn't want to buy stuff and have to pay zero sales tax? Can you imagine what that would mean to you if you were buying a brand new car here in Rhode Island? What that would do for car sales in Rhode Island?
See, you're asking a question you just asked me. Can you imagine that? People from outside the state, the Connecticut border, Massachusetts border, coming into Rhode Island. They don't come here to buy anything. Why would they? I mean, common sense tells you our gas tax is higher, our sales tax is higher. We have to make Rhode Island a unique state, and that's one way we can do it.
Now, you mentioned you had all of this support that came before the Finance Committee. What kind of people were there, and what types of things were they saying?
Well, I'll say one thing. It was business people, how it affects their business, how people go all over the border for, to buy that product at a cheaper price. Also, there was people, consumers there that were concerned. We had a lady there show her books. Her son goes to school at URI, and books aren't cheap when you go to college. And I think this total tax on 3 books was close to $40.
I'm not 100% sure, don't hold me to this, but I believe I heard a radio commercial this past week for a packaged liquor establishment in Massachusetts. And one of the points they made is that either A, they had lower sales tax or no sales tax. I can't remember which one it was, but they were making it a point on a radio station in Rhode Island to go to Massachusetts to buy your beer, wine, and spirits.
Well, in Rhode Island, what I'm trying to do is not just beer, wine, and spirits, on everything. Again, can you imagine people from Connecticut coming over the border, people from Massachusetts, and how about the people that drive through our state, going to New York to Boston, or Boston to New York? Give them a reason to stop. They have no reason now to stop.
Representative, here's the $64,000 question. Everybody watching this right now would certainly say, gosh, great, let's go buy stuff and not have to pay sales tax. The long and short of it is, how do you make up that revenue?
Well, there's all ways to look at it. That's why I'm hoping we're going to have a commission now this year to study this and see what we can do. First of all, can you imagine it increases, they figure out 20,000 people might receive jobs from this proposal. Number 2, our communities. Can you imagine big box stores, instead of opening up in Massachusetts, open up in Rhode Island? What's that mean, Dave? Property tax. They'll pay property tax in our state. Instead of opening up in Attleboro and Seekonk, they're in East Providence.
So your prediction, Representative Malik, would be that ultimately it would be a net gain?
I would say so. At the end, it would be a net gain. And Dave, why can't we look at it to see what kind of, you know, what it will generate, the excitement in this state. What else do we have? I'll give you one. The perfect example, state of Massachusetts didn't have casino gambling. Guess what? To be competitive with us, they put casinos in Massachusetts. Number two, how about Southwest Airlines? They didn't have Southwest. They saw what Southwest did for our airport. What did they do? They bait them in to go to Logan Airport. And number three is Powerball. We had people coming over the border to Rhode Island to pay Powerball, and what happens now? Mass has Powerball. They're aggressive. Why can't we be aggressive?
You know, I'm curious, how did we manage over the years to carve out a couple of categories that didn't have to, you don't have to pay sales tax on, like groceries, clothing? There are a couple of exceptions.
There is. But again, clothing, what did we do last year? We put a minimum. If you spend over, I think it's $250,
yeah.
You're getting taxed. Why? We in this state have a bad knack. When we have an advantage, we feel we have to do something to get rid of that advantage. We got to think out of the box in this state, because what we're doing in the past has not worked for the state of Rhode Island. Why is our unemployment rate now at 8.8? When people see that figure, you know what they tell me? Rep, we stopped looking. That number there isn't accurate enough. We're probably at 11%.
Oh, I think you're clearly right that the number is in actuality a lot higher. Listen, it's a great discussion. It was fascinating to hear it discussed before the Finance Committee. It's a very interesting proposition, and you certainly have, Representative Malik, looked outside the box. Thanks a million for talking to us.
Dave, thanks for your time. Thank you.
And of course, we couldn't do it without you. It's called Capitol Spotlight. I'm Dave Barber.